humanity has experienced unprecedented advancements in technology, industry, and economy. Production rates have drastically increased, and many goods and services are delivered to more people thanks to mass production. Technology has advanced even more with the rise of internet, specifically online services that we now often take for granted. To catch up with the fast-paced, highly globalized world, people work in various industries with higher wages, and to sustain such expenses, businesses are inclined to constantly increase efficiency in production, because more products means more profits. Many people are happy with the status quo, thinking that economic growth will make their lives happy in the long run. However, excessive extraction of natural resources continue to destroy the environment, and carbon dioxide emissions from factories and energy plants still persist, worsening the situation of global warming. At the same time, extreme weather phenomena are occurring more frequently than ever. Governments, non-governmental organizations, and international communities have vowed to adopt strategies that can help combat climate change. However, it is apparent that almost nothing from these promises has transformed into tangible action. Advocates have been pushing powerful people to take initiative in solving climate change. Unfortunately, they remain disappointed from the status quo.
Basically, the world is advancing at the expense of the environment as well as the long-term future of mankind. We produce more goods and more services using more natural resources at a rate that is unsustainable. Everyone is trying to combat climate change, but almost nothing is coming into fruition.
So what really is climate change? And why people call for action against it? What holds governments, corporations, and people back in this global battle? And can we make it in time? Global warming is the phenomenon in which a planet's surface temperatures increase because solar heat, or the heat from the sun, is trapped on the surface by an excessive amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which is considered to be the greenhouse effect. In the case of our planet, the Earth, such increases in temperatures drastically affect the atmosphere, and give rise to extreme weather events, hence it is called climate change.
Science-wise, you have high concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere because first, they are emitted from industries, so that include manufacturing, steel and cement, transportation, logistics, and so on, which mostly emit carbon dioxide. And second, you have agriculture, specifically methane coming from cow burps and cow farts. A layer on the planet called ozone layer protects us from the harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. And these greenhouse gases destroy the ozone layer, which means that more of these UV rays enter the surface. And that concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere trap that solar heat on the surface because they deflect those heat as they dissipate back into the space. So that solar heat warms our planet and disrupts the delicate system of weathers and seasons, which then leads to the formation of extreme weather events.
And this is definitely not a good news. Extreme weather events caused by climate change damage the Earth's surface, disrupting biodiversity and destabilizing the world economy in the process.
Obviously, those extreme weather phenomena like floods, hurricanes, droughts, and heat waves really cause destruction on the surface. Hurricanes destroy houses, buildings, bridges, roads, and other infrastructures, in which some of them are utilized for daily business operations. They also kill plant and animal species, so the survivor species often relocate to other areas, which increases the chance of disease transmission. So we also lose food sources, so food supply decreases and would increase their prices.
To make matters worse, the world economy is still highly reliant on fossil fuels, which means that most industries, if not all of them, still emit carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and most of the reasons tend to be economic in nature.
Many companies still utilize energy from burning fossil fuels because they know that they are cheaper. They have also invested heavily in fossil fuel companies like coal and oil, and if their demand decreases, they will have a lot to lose.
In a scientific viewpoint, many technical solutions are necessary to be adopted. For example, we have to transition to clean and renewable energy sources to drastically decrease carbon footprint.
One way for companies to switch to green energy and save costs could be to produce green energy themselves.
Many also propose to decrease our rate of consumption. In other words, consumption should be regulated.
做得好，其實好視乎我哋願唔願意踏出多一步，身體力行咁去改變既有嘅生活習慣。
Others called for action to change the economic system, all at once. Specifically, production rates should be decreased, and the pursuit of further economic growth should be abandoned, and instead work on economic optimization.
Let's imagine an economy that is post-capitalist, because capitalism is no longer fit for the 21st century. It's driving us into ecological catastrophe. It's driving extreme levels of inequality. But, it's time for us to imagine a system that is fairer and more ecological.
But they are easier said than done.
At the present rate of burning of fossil fuels, the present rate of increase of minor infrared absorbing gases in the Earth's atmosphere, that there will be a several centigrade degree temperature increase on the Earth, global average, by the middle to the end of the next century, and that has a variety of consequences, including redistribution of local climates and through the melting of glaciers, an increase in global sea level. There is concern on a somewhat longer time scale about the collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet and a general rise of many, many meters in sea level.
In response to the ever-growing warnings from scientists, world leaders vowed to regulate greenhouse gas emissions and gradually shift to more environment-friendly methods to participate in the global action.
Yes, it's going to be hard. But yes, we can do it. And so let's get to work with all the creativity and imagination and goodwill that we possess.
Unfortunately, world data continues to disappoint the public, and they are definitely not happy with it. Total greenhouse gas emissions around the world continue to increase over the past 3 decades.
It's obvious in the graphs that greenhouse gas emissions continue to increase over the years, and now they have reached the 50 billion ton mark. Many climatologists have come to consensus that if we do not address this issue by 2030, the effects of climate change will become irreversible.
So what held them back? What made this global action so difficult to operationalize?
First is that corporations are not incentivized to shift to sustainable ways. They think that profitability would be low if they do, although it is clear that we would lose $3 trillion worth of wealth, properties, and other assets if climate change wreaks havoc on our planet for ages. Governments are not also enthusiastic to this endeavor because they themselves benefit from the profits of these corporations. We, the other 98% of the population, do not also feel empowered to participate in this global resolution because we feel that our actions are too small and insignificant to create big changes. Although some of us are now trying to adopt environment-friendly practices, such as proper segregation, water and power conservation, and less carbon usage, nothing still changes because these corporations are not doing their part.
It is clear that the proposed solutions are not easy to turn into tangible actions. Governments and corporations do not feel incentivized, and some people are not participative because they feel insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So how can we pull this off? And can we do it in time?
I am optimistic that we can solve this climate crisis before 2030. Of course, that would be vague, but by that time, we have already offset the greenhouse gas emission in such a way that the warming of the planet stops for good. But to succeed in that, I believe that we should first stop the blame game on who produces the highest greenhouse gas emission. What we should focus on instead is the fact that we still emit these gases at abnormal and damaging rates, and that all of us should just have the initiative to take the necessary action, because otherwise climate change will come for all of us. That is not to say that we should change the system immediately, because that would destabilize the system. What I am trying to impart is that we should gradually change our habits until we are now able to fully embrace sustainability as the central concept of the world economy. If corporations and governments do significant actions on this, we will eventually become motivated to participate. But what it means is that the responsibility lies not only in one group or party, but in all of us.
Climate change is clearly a global issue. It cannot be solved with only one party working on it. It needs initiation from everybody, because if the crisis does not get resolved, we will be all at peril. But if we do pull this off, each and every one of us will thrive in the new chapter of the civilization.
I would insist over and over and over again, all of us should play our respective roles in protecting our planet and fighting climate change. Because after all, we are living in one terrestrial home. We have to change our habits and the systems that we incorporate in our daily functioning. That change is necessary because the future of this civilization lies not in plants, in animals, in fungi, in microorganisms, but in us. Science is a really powerful entity. As we discover more and more things in life in the universe, we create more and more questions to give answers to. So the journey never really ends. The same knowledge that we get can also be used to convert into many things that help humans flourish. Science is also integral to society. It promotes the survival of society as well as its foundation. For example, advancements in medical science ensures treatment of and protection against a multitude of diseases, both known and unknown. Scientific methods of creating knowledge leads us to the discovery of better ways to run the economy and maintain social order. However, science can also be dangerous if left unchecked and uncontrolled. Specific scientific innovations can harm humans or even spell the end of civilization. Eugenics, for one, was considered science, and yet it tried to eradicate people of other color and promoted and further justified hatred and prejudice against them, all under the principle of undesirability. The creation of nuclear warheads in the 20th century exposed the world to the threat of nuclear Armageddon for the rest of human history. Innovation is inevitable in science since humans are in the constant journey to achieving new eudaimonia, and many of these innovations are too complex and mysterious to preempt. However, even if these innovations emerge in reality, as long as we incorporate ethics in using them, humanity is still better off. We have to ensure that specific innovations are geared towards the betterment of society if we are to preserve the existence of our civilization.